to Heal the World show, brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Parmelia Parham, and I am the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute. And I am very, very excited to have you along on this podcast with us. So, we have had our theme this month of It's a New Year, It's a New You. And each week we have talked about health in a different way. So, the first week we talked about physical health, the second week we talked about mental health. This week we are going to talk about emotional health. Now, I've studied healing and wellness for well over 20 years. I've used holistic ways of being well myself personally, and we know that it works because we get to the root cause. We're not just looking at a symptom and trying to heal the symptom. We're actually trying to heal the root cause, and that's what I love about all the practitioners that are on the Healing Institute, is because that is our aim, is to get in and find out what the root cause is. What is causing that pain? What is causing that emotional upset? So you might wonder why, in fact, this is so important to me. And I just always tell this short little story about the fact that we did in our family have a very tragic event that happened, in that my mother died at age 61. And the reason for her dying so young is because she had been on a medication for over 20 years that compromised her kidneys. And not once did we ever know that that was happening until about the last month of her life, when she started to get very, very ill. And so I don't want that happening for anybody else. And that is actually one of the reasons why I call it the Healing Institute an institute, because I'm really passionate about education and educating people on how they can be well and how you can stay well on your health journey. So, as I mentioned, this month's theme is It's a New Year, It's a New Year, New You. And I'm so happy to have Mindy Coleman back talking to us today about emotional healing. Mindy is a registered clinical counselor. Mindy is part of our platform with the Healing Institute. So, welcome, Mindy. Glad to have you here.
I'm so happy to also be here. Thank you.
Yes, so both Mindy and I, the modalities that we work with, her registered counseling, and also I do body code work, emotion code work. We both decided that we would be on the show today, and we would be talking about emotional health and how we can be healthy from an emotional point of view. So, Mindy, I know you've got some great ideas and processes that you work with your clients. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think from the very beginning, one of the things that I go straight forward is, what is a person self-care? How are
Mm.
they taking care of themselves? Worrying and stress is all part of all of our lives, and we can't avoid them. It's what we do with that stress, and what do we do with the different traumas or upsets or whatever else is occurring in our lives. How do we One of the first things, is resiliency, and resilience is something that we can build on, and it's how do we see the world? How does it affect us, and how do we react to these different kinds of stresses that we endure?
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to just say hello to a couple of people that have popped on to our and are listening today. Dr. Medlena Kanzschaft from all the way from Germany. Welcome, Dr. Medlena. We're happy to have you here. She has made a comment that self-care is so essential, and really, I believe that is so true. When we look after ourselves, then we have the resilience, as you were mentioning, that we have the resilience to then meet whatever's coming at us, whether it's stress or anxiety or just life. We have a better way of coping with it. So we do have Michelle Falzone. Michelle says, "Good morning, everyone. Grateful to be in your presence and bask in your wisdom, Mindy." And Michelle, if those of you who remember, Michelle was our first guest, the first Friday in January about physical health. So yeah, so I know you've got more things to talk about and give people examples of how they can be emotionally healthy.
Yes. Well, and so part of, about self-care is being positive.
Mhm.
And that can be very, very difficult when you're feeling down and life is dark or there is no hope or you think you've tried everything and it's nothing's working. And I don't have the phrase, but it's like, it's, what is it? It's the darkest moment before things start to
Mhm, mhm,
light up.
mhm,
You got
mhm.
to hold that in your heart and and be able to really believe that I just keep going. And I'm not talking drudgery. We don't, drudgery. We don't need to think negative because those things. If whatever we think, where I come from, you see, it will happen. You'll behave that way, so you'll create it. So positive thinking, and it could be tiny little things of just an affirmation. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. And saying it at least 6 times. You can say it 20 times, but really say it, mean it, right down to
Mhm.
your core. And no matter where we are in this world, we all come from our five senses. And so when I'm saying something, I'm going to say it from seeing, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. So to really put that feeling into it, and it can be very, very simple. I suggest also not to make your affirmations maybe two. What you want is I'm a confident and intelligent woman or lovable woman. But you want to say it as fast as a falling star. Because we can say those negatives really fast, can't we? Boom,
Yeah.
they go to us. We want to do the same thing with the positives. I think another one that's so important is getting connected. We need to connect with our
Mhm.
with people. And so, because there's so much computer and virtual things that are happening, and those are very good too, because that's part of connection. But connecting with people, either with, your neighbors, your friends, members of your family, they it's so important to belong to other groups of people, and it may be just one person, but in connecting you can also go online to different classes, volunteer. What are things that interest you? Animals, kids, bowling, whatever it is. Finding something that interests you, that you can connect with, to relieve some of the stresses. Stress, like I said earlier, it's normal. It's the energy that helps us get
Yeah.
things done, right? But staying high alert is not good. It's not good for our heads. It's not good for our hearts. It's not good for our body. And I think that's where a lot of our illness comes from, is too much stress and not finding a way to find solutions to it. Getting enough sleep. Enough sleep is so important. Right now, I'm watching a show on Netflix, and it's called The Blue Zone. It's
Mm.
very interesting.
I've heard of it. Mhm.
Things they talk about is, sleep.
Mhm.
And so, going to bed at the same time, roughly, getting up at the same time, having a routine. And just, I remember in COVID type days, that was one of my biggest stress because I didn't have a routine.
Yeah.
So now in our daily exercises, doing the stress, uh,
Mhm.
sleep. Also, get outside. If just going for a walk, and it doesn't matter if you're in the city and you go, oh, I'm just in the city. Find a park to go to. Are you near any kind of water? is there's always something somewhere. And even if you have to walk up and down your own street, look at the trees, look at the flowers, look at somebody's lawn that's growing, or, be in the moment and enjoy what's going on in the moment.
And
That is
incorporate that calmness that we need in our lives, because we have so many things that are coming at us, through our phones, through our computers, TV. So we really need to work at having a more calm in our lives, so that it's part of our self-care, I believe,
oh, 100.
because that will keep our parasympathetic nervous system in so that it's not going fight or flight or freeze. So that's really, really important. I love that you've said that about, just going for a walk, or if you live in the city, find a park. There's probably, quite a few parks around. So yes, so Dr. Madlena has made a few things, or she's talked about a few things. Okay, I think she's got your quote. The night is the darkest one shortly before the dawn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And she agrees, sleep is very, very important. Michelle says the Blue Zone show is awesome, or looks awesome. So and I have heard about that as well. And Dr. Madeleine also is talking about enjoying every moment. We have a new guest on the chat today, Robin Johnson. Thanks for joining us, Robin. And she says stillness helps to keep us anchored. That is so, so true. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that stillness can look like mindfulness. It can look
Yes.
like meditation or yoga. And again, you can find, different groups online. You can find groups at community centers or at senior centers. It's or go to a class. There you are. So all that is about, again, is the connection and making new friends, or afterwards going out for coffee or tea or whatever it is. Again, being in nature. And if you got a family doctor or a consultant, talk to that person if you're feeling down.
Reach out. Don't try to do it yourself. Make sure that you're reaching out, even if you're reaching out to a friend, to have a conversation with them and letting them know how you feel. And that was an earlier comment that Dr. Madlena made about when you were mentioning about our world and how we see our world. The phrase that our world view, I hadn't heard that phrase only a couple of years ago. And I certainly understood what we were talking about. Everybody has a different worldview. And this was coming more from our Indigenous population, the worldview that they had versus the Anglo-Saxon, I will call it that, white Anglo-Saxon worldview. And I thought that's really, really interesting. So Dr. Madlena was saying, how do we see the world? How are we looking at it? Are we looking at the world positively, or are we looking at the world negatively? Are we watching the news every night and we know the news is sensational? So, I haven't watched the news consciously for probably over 20 years, just because I don't want that kind of that negative information, or that negative, I call it a vibration, that negative vibration that I just don't want that in my life anymore. So I think that's really important, talking about how we look at the world, for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think setting up boundaries too is very, very important.
Yes, very important.
What things am I, taking on things that other people want me to do that I don't either have no interest or I don't have time to do that. Delegate it out, or just simply say, no, I don't want to do that. My schedule is full. And that takes a lot of bravery. And there's also comes in under self-care.
Yes.
The other one that's really high going up and I deal with in my practice is loneliness. Yes. And people isolating themselves. That is just so back again to some of the things I'm talking about here, about self-care and being connected. And I think like I might write down to the last three things I think are important is one, connection with people, be it family, be it with the volunteers, be it with, a club or a group that you're interested in doing. The other one is believing in self and
Mhm.
accepting self where you are right now. Good is enough. We don't
Yes.
have to be any better than where we are at this time, right? And we can build from there. But that belief system of who I am, where I am, and that's good enough. And then the other one is purpose. What is my purpose?
Mhm.
Getting up in the morning, what do I have to look forward to? Who am I part of? My grandmother was, she was pretty deaf towards the end of her life, but she was well in her 90s. And she would, every night she would call like a handful of people, just checking on them, how they're doing. She couldn't hear, but she did well with that. Then she would do is, because she was, a great cook, she was always making pies or buns and making sure that, people had these different kinds of food because that gave her purpose.
Mhm.
Right?
Absolutely.
You look at anybody that's retiring, and then the highest rate of death is after a lot of times people's retirement and they don't know where they're going to go next.
They haven't thought it through as to what the next part
Yeah,
or phase of their life is, and so they've had a purpose of pardon me, of being in the
all
working world for a long time, and
right,
now they don't know what their new purpose is.
right.
So yeah, so Robin says stillness helps to keep us anchored, which is very, very true. Um, and Dr. Madalena agrees. We all need a support team. Robin's asking a question: are we looking at the world through our distorted filters? Well, I'm not sure if they're distorted. I think we're looking at the world through our own filters or how we see the world. I know I can be, reading something about how other people view the world, and I might not change my view, but I can at least open my mind to how other people are looking at the world. And Dr. Madalena says, yeah, we have to believe in ourselves, in oneself, for sure.
I think that comes under limited belief.
Yes.
And so, depending on, if you grow up in a family that's negative, how are you going to know anything else?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
If you grow up in some place, the people that are positive and that you can do anything you want and you can be anybody you want to be, that's a whole different view. And I have a lot of people that come from maybe distorted,
Mhm.
limited
Mhm.
beliefs, and we walk through that journey together of how can it look differently. And I say to them, we think that we're looking through the world and we're actually just looking through this little piece right here. And it's limited. So what we
Very
want to do
limited.
is we want to open up our awareness and see what other possibilities are there. They're endless that we have. And I
Yeah.
love the look, on people's when their eyes, light up and they go, I can do anything. Or, yes, that's something I never thought of before. I literally live for that.
Yes, I
So
agree. Definitely.
I like it too every once in a while. Wow, I didn't know I could do that. It's not that you get to a part in your life and you go, everything's great. It's continuous,
No.
continuous. And that's why you need to be around people who are supportive and who care about you, who are good listeners, that are non-judgmental, and also asking them, how did you? I see that you got through this or that happened to you. How did you do that? And listening to what they did can give you some options. You don't have to
Absolutely.
follow every step.
No.
It will give you at least some awareness and options.
Something to think about as well, to think there's other ways of being emotionally healthy.
Right.
So Michelle says she tells herself a lot, done is better than perfect. So, where many of us, especially as women, are raised to that we have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I remember back in the 80s where we were, I had children, I had a career, I was supposed to be a superman. I was like, okay, well, thank goodness I got past that because we're not superhuman, whether we're women or men. We're not superhuman. We are who we are, and not that we can't grow and learn more things. We certainly can, but we have to look at we have to believe in ourselves for sure, and we have to look at what is it that we can in fact handle in just right now in what we're doing. Yeah, Dr. Madlena says it's vital to surround ourselves with people with high energy. I agree 100%. When I first learned about energy, which was over 20 years ago, I intuitively knew, but didn't have the language for it. And so when I was studying under my very first teacher, and she was teaching me about energy healing and emotional healing, I was like, yeah, I only want to have high energy people around me. I don't want low energy people, because that will, that'll drag me down. So that was part of the beginning of my journey to get into emotional healing. And then with using um, the body code healing modality, that's where I can help people find these balls of negative energy that are stuck in their subconscious and release these emotions so that they will feel happier and healthier.
Yes.
I'm not sure where that static is coming from, but anyway. Yes. So let's see. Can you give us an example, perhaps, of a client that you've worked with, Mindy, who's been able to with
Yeah.
some of what you mentioned?
Well, I guess part of it too is somewhere between the resilience and when life hit her hard. She lost her job, very scared, and turned out that she, started, yelling at her boss and trying to um, get the boss to understand her value. And
Mhm.
then then coming home and again, the anger, the frustration, the upset. Well, that's all normal stuff, because again, we're not robots. And so when something like that hits, and it came out of the absolute blue for her, in her how she saw it, and just very frustrated. And so we started looking at um, where did she really want to be?
Mhm.
Because from what I gathered, she didn't like her job at all, right? So, but it was the paycheck. It was, it was the mortgage or rent or whatever she was paying at the time, and the expectation of the family of her bringing home, a paycheck. So, over a little bit of time, just looking at her strengths, looking at her resilience. So we were building up her strength. We're looking at self care. I got her starting to do some meditation so that she would slow down, so she'd have that stillness, so she could actually think. Got her outside doing some exercise. One of her sons was a hockey player, so she, he was like 7 or something. So she would start going to, his games, which he never was able to do before. And so gradually was probably less than a month, she just started to be able to breathe differently, look at things
Mhm.
differently. And then she found the answers that she wanted. And we have this beautiful thing called Indeed. She was on there, and she couldn't believe how many opportunities there was there for her. And so she started applying for different jobs, and got a really good job that she really wanted. So when I have people like that, what I really try to do is I try to anchor them in to that feeling, because I'm going to say this may happen again. It may not
Yes.
be on
Yeah.
a job, it might be with a relationship, it might be like all kinds of different things. To remember the steps that it took to get there, and that no matter what, there's always better opportunities out there.
And when we give our clients tools to work with, those
Mhm.
tools, as you mentioned, they can use them over and over again for any situation that comes up. And that's what certainly one of the other things that I do for my clients is I help them look at some beliefs that are limiting and
Mhm.
how to release those beliefs,
Yeah.
how to actually create a new belief, not necessarily release the old belief, but they can do that. At least they can release the energy of the old belief, not necessarily the old belief. But what they're looking at is the energy. And
Yeah.
so we incorporate them. We incorporate a process I take them through to look at the energy and incorporate the energy of the new belief into who they are,
Yes.
and that makes a big difference in what is happening for them, whatever they determine when the session that I do with them, whatever they whatever they decide the belief is that is no longer serving them. But the tool I give them is one that they can use over and over again. So it's very powerful. It's very simple, but it's very powerful.
And they find it in themselves. I mean, I
Yes.
can tell them anything, and I walk out the door, they walk out the door, we shut down the computer. It has to be coming from them. They discover it. My job is to tap in there, and help them see, these belief systems that are going, or that they're using, and are they working or they're not working for them. And I like to call myself a guide. I just sort of stand
Mhm.
up the side, and feed things that people can't see themselves. And when I'm in that situation, I want somebody to help me that I can't see.
Exactly.
So yes, and then they carry it forever. Then they know. And
Yeah.
I encourage throughout all my counseling. See, what do you think of that? How did that work for you? Where did you
Yeah,
get that?
I always ask my clients to tap into how they're feeling physically, because our emotions, especially these trapped emotions that I release, help them release, are in our physical bodies. And so one of the things I'm always, teaching is that you want to release that ball of negative energy, even though it's in your subconscious. You want to release it out of your body, because that's when our bodies create dis-ease, when we have these emotions that haven't been dealt with.
Yes.
So Robin loves your story, Mindy. She says, great story. Sometimes we can create negative situations, which can then help us move to a more positive situation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think always, if we
Always.
have the people around us to give us that support, that we're connected, and that we accept ourselves again on who we are, where we are at this moment, and we can build from there.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Well, we are nearly at the bottom of our 30 minutes. So I just want people to know that we have a big ask. We are out healing the world. And we really want to have people that are coming to the website and interacting with another fabulous practitioner that you've met today, Mindy Coleman. And we really want we have a vision. We really have a vision of having a healthy world. And we have a community with the Healing Institute, and we have expert health practitioners who actually customize unique treatments, just as Mindy was telling you. Hers is not a cookie cutter treatment that she does. She customizes it for her clients. So yes, so please tell people about our podcast. You can come back on. I'll be doing a replay later this afternoon, and also let people know that are looking to be well and stay well while they're on their health journey, because we're all on a health journey. And you got to meet another amazing practitioner today, Mindy Coleman. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.